Hey everybody, it's me. I'm just saying, got a couple more things I want to talk about today. Okay, in the background, you're listening to who is this? Dr. Charles Hayes and the Warriors. It's their remix. Um, he's gonna work it out for all of us. Mm, Jesus can work it out. He's the only one who can work it out. But right now, our Father has told us to peace be still with the silence. And that's what's been going on. And I've been enjoying every single moment of the silence that's been in this apartment complex, in this apartment building. It's been absolutely wonderful. No kids running up and down the hall. None of that. Except for yesterday when some of these little crumb snatchers decided they wanted to kick my door because I had some music going. Well, if you're going to kick my door, don't run. Let me get you. Let me talk to you. Come here, let me holler at you for a minute. That's how I'm saying, okay? Because I ain't scared of no kids, all right? First of all, we got a pandemic going on. People can't go nowhere without a mask. You little carriers are running around in the hallway because your mom and your daddies, wherever they might be, don't want you in their house. But don't be coming up in my house keeping up a whole bunch of noise. I'm just saying, okay? It's disrespectful and it's rude. And I know your mama and your daddy taught you better. Hopefully. Anyway, so a couple of things going on. We got the primaries coming up on June 23rd, I believe it is. And I live in a very political city. Yes, the city of Yonkers. It has the city of hills that they say where nothing is ever on the level. Well, the reason why it's not on the level is because the people here are not on the level. And the people just sit and ride the wave. It's sad that some people don't even think. They're not critical thinkers. They don't think for themselves. They just wherever they go, they just ride the wave. I don't know. It might take me down a sewer, but they're riding it, regardless of who's in charge. And speaking of being in charge, let me see now. We have Yonkers. Yonkers is the last northern city to integrate its schools and its housing. Okay, that's number one. A lot of stuff that Yonkers has. Yonkers also has their very famous DSEG case from the 1980s. A DSEG case where they didn't want anyone who looked like me to even be on the east side of town. I'm just saying. This is our city. So, needless to say, I have run for office here several times. Now, let me just say this. Before I ran for office, all these plaques and things that you see in the background, that's just a few of the things. And this is not for a braggadocious reason. This is simply to say, in this city, it doesn't matter what you've done to prove yourself. And I didn't do any of this stuff. Most of this stuff that I did is voluntary except for my degrees. That I worked my tailbone off to graduate with honors, okay? And to be who's who in America and all these other things. I worked very hard to do that because it's just because of where I come from. I was involved, in Birmingham as a child. Since I was 6, 7 years old, I've been involved in, protesting and marching. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I don't protest and I don't march because I understand the best way to get somebody is in their pocket. You can march, we march, we march. Some people just marching just to get their steps in, while other people are marching because they actually think that at the end of this march, like at the end of the rainbow, you're supposed to find a pot of gold. At the end of the march, you get absolutely zero zilch nada most of the time. People can't seem to come together for their issues. Now we have all kinds of things going on like the Me Too movement and blah blah blah. But unlike the 60s, in the 50s when people march, things got done. Okay, and I'll talk about some of those things that actually got done later on in this show while I'm talking. So, what I would first like to talk about is when you talk about qualifications here in the city of Yonkers. Now, I have run for office several times, but before that, I used to work for this organization called Scenic Hudson. Scenic Hudson is an environmental and land trust organization. buy up land, make parks, for people in the community, so forth and so on. So, you work for some place long enough, you get many different kinds of cups and things like this. This one is my favorite one that I use because it's all glass. We had to change some of them because it had stuff around it, and we had to switch it because the paint wasn't good. Anyway, um, so during this whole time that I worked for Scenic Hudson, I had to meet with all the politicians, the city council members, the senator, the you name it. We had to meet the county legislator, just to talk about making sure that people had setbacks and open space and green space and all this kind of stuff. Making sure that the high rise was really low rise and mid rise. So it was a lot. Went to every single solitary community meeting. Went to like over 300 different residential and tenants meetings to just inform people. Try to meet with as many of the black churches in the first district to explain to them the importance of being aware and choosing the right public servant who's going to recognize the church's issue and the people who are in that church, because the bottom line is, if they do gentrification and they move all your 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 members out of the church, you're not going to have a church. What are you going to do? Come and preach to yourself? Which is almost what's happening right now during the coronavirus, because God has gotten sick and tired of us. Whether you're a preacher or an entertainer, sit down. Think about what's going on. Reflect. Make yourself better. Because I know the earth is enjoying it, and I am too. There's nothing like a clean street where you can actually walk on the street without having to skip and hop over somebody's hot spit. Okay? Where you don't have to worry about garbage blowing all over the place. Oh my God. There are some terrible things that happen with this pandemic. I have friends that have lost family members. I've lost friends. It's been really not that good. It hasn't been good at all. But people have come together for certain things like feeding folks. But you also have those opportunists that have also been taking pictures and snapping pictures of themselves, whether they're in the hospital or whether they're handing out food. And it's like, really? Let me just say this about the hospital. If I'm in the hospital with something, I'm not going to be taking pictures of myself. That's just all there is to it. I don't need that kind of attention. The only people I know that need that kind of attention are people that are not really too tight up here and Munchausen's, who's always using their illnesses and everything so that they can get attention and people can have pity on them. And people fall for it, but that's because people again are sheeple. They don't think, they just say, "Oh, it's so sad, it's so." Meanwhile, you having the wool pull over your eyes like you wouldn't believe. I know because I work with somebody who was always in the hospital. If she wasn't in the hospital, her children were in the hospital, or her child was in the hospital. And it's like, what the heck? So anyway, that's a whole nother story I'll do on Munchausen's. Anyway, so speaking of being competent. Now I have all this stuff in the back of me, which is nothing, and I'll show you. It really isn't, and it's not, like I said, it's not for a braggadocious reason. I graduated from Marist College. That's me and my graduation day. It did everything from rain to snow to sleet to hail. My gown here is soaking wet. After I graduated from Marist, 6 months later, I got hired to be the assistant director of student activities. This is me with the former mayor of New York, David Dinkins, and we took a picture together and I'm in a robe because if you graduate from Marist and you work there, you have to robe up for the ceremony. And so I believe that our keynote speaker was this year was Mr. Rogers, and also that guy from Fox 5 graduated also from there. So anyway, there were a few protests when he was there. Anyway, so I have a couple degrees from Marist. I've also have degrees in back of me, proclamations and things like that. That's only a few of them. There's so many that I've gotten, and I'm doing this because of qualification purposes. And when people say, "Oh, you're not qualified," I didn't do any of this stuff because I never wanted to be a politician. That's the honest to God truth. This is one here from Shelly Mayer that I got that I don't even have put up. This was from 2016. Now, mind you, this was from 2016. The city of Yonkers fired me because I was running for office again for this seat. My very first time I ran for office was in 2012. Okay, so this was like a little calendar magnet. It kind of like stays up when you stick it. Um, but in 2012, I ran for city council president. Now, I mean city council for the first district. Now, I would have, I didn't want to run in previous years because at the time the person who was in there was Patricia McDowell, and people at Scrimshaw and every place was calling me because they all knew me from working again with Scenic Hudson, okay, and said you need to run for the first city council district. This is when all the development was going on. Homes for America with Bob McFarland and Arthur Collins, who had the Collins thing down at Hudson Park, and then it was the guys who was building 66 Main, and the other folks that was doing the Alexander Street project, and I have all this stuff that I had. So they asked me to run, and I said no. I didn't want to run against an incumbent because I felt like, maybe she would do better on her second term. That's what I was thinking. Maybe she would do better. Okay. Unfortunately, you anybody who lives in Yonkers know what the deal was. So anyway, so this is one from 2016 after I was fired from the city of Yonkers by Michael Sabatino, who was the city council minority leader at the time, and Christopher Johnson did not want me running against him, even though I had run in 2012 and 2015. It was like, oh my goodness, oh my gracious, she's gonna run against me. And all he was thinking about was just being elected. Because sometimes when people don't have anything else going for themselves, I remember when I used to go in with Scenic Hudson, and he was just sitting at a desk waiting for Senator Cousins to drive her somewhere or to do a bunch of proclamations for her. That's all that he did, okay? Because he was out of college. So this one's from Shelly Mayer. I'm gonna show you these. That was in 2016. This one here is from Andrea Stewart Cousins. Okay, I got this proclamation. And this one is in 2016 also, because in April 23rd, 2016, I was honored by the club in New Rochelle. So, or this one was the women's, whatever it was, I got one, okay, for community service. That one was from Andrea Stewart Cousins, who, by the way, out of all the times that I've run for office, and I will show you here, I ran for city council president, okay, in 2013. And here I ran for the Westchester County legislator, but only for a second, because when Ken Jenkins didn't get the seat, he took that seat back, okay? He had asked me at the time to run for that one, but, if he wanted it back, I wasn't going to run against him. This one is from the city council people, including Christopher Johnson had to sign it, even though he was one of the reasons why I was fired, because he didn't want me running against him. So this is one from all the city council members. Again, this one is for 2016, the 23rd, the award that I got. This one here is from Congressman Elliot Engel, again, for these things are weird. Again, for the work that I did in the community. This one is from New Rochelle's Noam Bramson, who was the mayor. I got this from him in 2000. 2013, I was awarded. I think that's this award here for my a prestigious community service award. I received this one. Okay, and let me see. Ugh, it's a lot of them that fall. I just want to show you because it doesn't matter what you do. You would think this is from Elliot Engel, and that was from 2015. I got an award for outstanding and invaluable service. This one here is from the Office of the President of City Council, Liam McLaughlin. This one is also 2015. I remember I was fired in 2015. Okay, this one here is from the Office of the Mayor, Mike Spano, 2015 again. And this one is 2016. This one is a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the Lincoln High School and the Black History Committee. Thank you for being a guest speaker for the Living History series. So I got that from going into Lincoln and speaking. And at the time, the principal at Lincoln was Dr. Edwin Quesada, who was supposed to hire me because I've gone in and done things for his school, but twice, and never even been considered for anything within the school district anymore. This is from April 23rd again. This one is from the City Council President's Office. So I'm showing all of these for a reason. Again, this one is from Andrea Stewart Cousins. This one is another one. This one is from May 4th of 2013. Okay. They're not in any frames because I got nowhere else to put these. I had them in my office. It drove people crazy. This is a certificate and dedication. This is from a long time ago, 1998, when I first started. Well, one of the first years that I started doing a lot of community service to try to bring students together. And this was at a high school up in Poughkeepsie, Roy C. Ketchum High School. I gave out about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 different scholarships, 15 scholarships in 5 years for in my family's name for students who helped to participate to bring about any kind of racial unity at the school. This is a certificate I set on the board for Girl Scouts of America. So they had given me a certificate because I worked very diligently on that board, the Girl Scouts of America. And this is just my, I have a certificate in meetings and event planning. So this is my, I went through that. So I am licensed and special and doing special events. This is it's a seminar that I went through for attendance for something. I don't even know what it was, but you know. And here are some of the special things that I really treasured. This is from the students at the Eleanor Roosevelt Girls Leadership Workshop, ERVK. They all wrote a letter and they signed because I do a facility thing there. I did it for about 10 years for them. And this again is a this one is from 2006, okay? And this one is from 2010. So when people want to look and say, oh, she's never done anything, oh, this is all like, I did get paid for those. This is another one. This one is from Assemblyman Gary Pretlow. I got this one from him. So when I tell people what I've done, not that it matters, but I let people know that I've always been interested in helping my community. So when people say, oh, she doesn't have any qualifications, it's not because of my qualifications. I have qualifications because when you look at Christopher Johnson, who came in from the Bronx, and in 6 weeks he became, when I ran for this, when I ran for the city council uh, before, he won that one because he was affiliated with, driving the car for the senator. Driving a car for the senator doesn't make you qualified to handle 37,000 people in a one district. But that's what they did because it doesn't matter all the work that you've done to get to the point that you are. It's all about who you know. And that's bad for everybody in the city. That's bad for our world. Forget this city. It's bad for society. It's bad for the world. When you get these um, incompetent, inexperienced with just life in general, not even knowing how to handle people, we're in a lot of trouble because they're totally detached and they don't understand. And when you give somebody something, it's not the same as when you work for something. When you've given of your blood, sweat, and tears to try to make a community, regardless of where that community is. And speaking of which, because of who I am, the two strikes that you can see clearly that I have against me, being a woman and being born black because God made me so, and I love it. Um, oh, you're a carpetbagger. You haven't been here. You just moved here. They don't say anything about anybody if they're a black guy who moves in, like Chris Johnson, or if they're a Hispanic woman, like, Corazon. None of those people, they never even went to a city council meeting. Never came to a city council meeting. Meanwhile, since 2006, working for Scenic Hudson, I'm sitting in city council meetings talking about the daylighting that happened, all this stuff. But for some reason, none of that is of any importance to anyone because they're looking at your gender and they're looking at your color. That's the number one thing that's here. And I'll tell you why. When I ran for city council president, which one is this one? Yeah. When I ran for city council president, my white friends, who are no longer my friends because when I got fired, nobody talked to me. They accused me of uh, running against Michael, who, by the way, didn't even live in my district, and I would not ever run against him. He was so uppity that he couldn't even talk to me for 2 weeks. 2 weeks I'm in office. He doesn't even want to speak to me. He turns his back when he was talking to me. Now, to me, that's just immaturity. But I knew exactly what it was. It was a fear because he had to run for his second term. And if he didn't fire me, and Chris being so close, Christopher Johnson being so close to Andrea Stewart Cousins and Ken Jenkins and Simmer Brandon, then he probably wouldn't have gotten the backing of the Democratic Party. So it was like someone said to me, my friend told me, if you're going to work for him, told me this in 2012, be prepared because this guy is not strong enough and he will throw you under the bus to save, his own tail. And he was absolutely right because 3.5 years later, these people called this man about everything that I did. And when I say the people, I'm talking about these black people in the Democratic Party, Chris Johnson and Simmer Brandon. If I did anything, they were like, did you see she was on television? Did you see she did it? Did you see the article that she wrote? Yes, I wrote several articles. And let me tell you what some of the articles are in case you ever want to look them up. One of the articles was crazy versus courageous. Because whenever you're a woman and you go out and you go against the grain or you're not with the status quo, they consider you crazy. Oh, what's she running for office for? She must be crazy, No, crazy like a fox, but not crazy. Because the truth of the matter is, we live in a democracy. But here in this little bubble here, everybody, it's like you're in elementary school, or I'll say junior high school. And all the little cliques get together. They don't have anything else to do because they know they're not competent. They know they're not qualified. They know that the only reason why they're in the positions that they're in right now is because of who they know and not what they know. Some of them are not educated. Some of them don't have to be because they're making money hand over fist, and that's all that matters. But you know what? My God will work this all out. So I write. They don't like what I write because I'm going to, I have to write truth to power. I've never liked bullies, never been bullied. Better not bully me. I've never been afraid of authority if they're wrong. And as far as loyalty, I am loyal. I'm very loyal to my friend, but I'm a straight shooter. So if your idea of a friend is somebody who just co-signs what you do, whether it's right or wrong, I'm probably not your friend, because I'm going to tell you this is what I think, this is what I believe, and this is what I know. And if you don't like it, that's fine, but we can agree to disagree. But when um, my ex friend Rona Shapiro told me that Michael loved me so much during one of her after a couple of drinks, I said, if you're supposed to be my friend and Michael's supposed to be my friend, you all come and talk to me. If I got an issue with someone that I love as a friend, I'm not going to say, what? They did? Oh, that's it. I'm not talking to them. I don't know that that's the truth, because there's always two sides to every story, and then they claim that there's the truth. But let me tell you something. There's no reason why I have to lie. The woman, Virginia Perez, who was one of the county legislators at the time, and another person, Tasha, and my other friend, Nicole, we were all just women of color that was running for office. They wanted to turn it into a ticket. So that became the big story, the women's ticket. I said to Virginia, do not put my name down on a ticket, because you got to understand, I work at City Hall every single day. I already got Chris Johnson and Simmer Brandon and all of them down my throat every time I turn around. And then we played a game on them. And there's a secret game that goes on that I tell people, I said, watch this, because I can get them every single time. No matter where I am, they're always watching to see who I'm talking to. And then Chris's thing is he uses war terminology: infiltrate, annihilate, capture her friends. You don't have to work too hard. Just go on her Facebook, find out what her platform was, and use it. Is what he would say, probably to, I guess, to one of the to Shanae Williams, who was the city council person, who was, by the way, put in by the mayor. So they got to keep their little group going. And you're talking about these young people who are making all this money. Now I'll tell you something. The mayor had this young man working for him. He ended up getting drunk during last September, running into somebody, this guy from Dutchess County. He was in a coma. He's able to come back to work. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If it was somebody like me, which thank the Lord I don't drink, but if it was somebody who looked like me, whether they're male or female, they would have been gone. Do you hear me? They wouldn't have had no money. They wouldn't even want to affiliate with them at all. But I'm telling you, that's privileged skin is very important here in the city of Yonkers, and you can believe it or you cannot believe it. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm gonna say like Muhammad Ali, and I paraphrase. He was on a show, sitting up on the stage with this guy from London, and he said, the guy says, "Well, I don't believe that everybody's like that, because a lot of white people don't want to believe that. The ones that have real sense with their eyes open, they know what the deal is." So this guy says, "No, I don't believe that." He said, "Well, you may not believe it. You may not believe that most white people don't like black people, but you might be the only one." He said, "But let me say this." He said, "If I'm sitting up here on this stage and there's 4,000 snakes coming down the aisle, and I had a door that I could close, that would keep me away, but then you got 1,000 snakes going, hey, I'm not like that. You don't have to worry." He said, "Do you actually think that those 1,000 snakes are going to protect me for the 400,000 snakes?" He said, "I ain't that big a fool." Okay. And just because some people are nice, don't mean. I thought my white friends were very nice to me. I thought all of them were wonderful, because they had been wonderful as long as they were controlling and everything was okay with them. But when it came to my livelihood, nobody came up. Nobody spoke up for me. Nobody did anything. So yes, I ended up putting a lawsuit in. I did get my equitable tolling, which I was very happy about, because they wanted to kill it like that, but it didn't. It went on for 3.5 years. But the laws are written by white men. They are they are twisted, and they are used by white men. And it's very difficult for the average person. I did mine pro se because I had a lousy lawyer who was Richard St. Paul. I gave him $2,500. The man never did anything but write a weak letter to EEOC, which I had to finish up myself. And I had been sick, and I had to get up from my sick bed and do this. So I got my equitable tolling, even though it was 4 days late. I'm very proud of that. They didn't give me any money, even though they owed. I had 310 hours of vacation, 280 some hours of sick time, and 20 some hours of personal time. And I had over 1,000 hours of comp time. So I literally did not get paid for any of that. Well, they gave me half of my vacation, but they were using me as an example because they felt like I was going to fall under and like everybody, oh, I can't make it, because that was the key. Christopher Johnson wanted to make sure, and by the way, for all of you people who are really silly enough to believe that he's so wonderful, this guy is really, he even says he's calculating. He says, I can make anybody do what I want them to do and think anything that I want to think. And I said, yeah, because there's a lot of weak-minded people. And he even said, there's a lot of dumb people. And yes, people, unfortunately, are dumb, because they're so enamored with, politicians and, and entertainers. They don't think about the character of the person, the integrity of the person, nothing. They just, all they want to do is just be with them when they run into the room. Like this one lady, the mayor's here, the mayor's here, they go crazy. And it's like, these people go to the toilet just like you do, and you don't know what they're doing behind bars. And all of you black people who are just really silly in office and everywhere else, they calling you all jungle bunnies, jigaboos, the N-word, porch monkeys, moolies, and you guys just sit up there skinning and grinning all the time. So anyway, and because they're doing for you, you figure, well, as long as they taking care of me, that's all that really matters. Okay, take that one to God when it's all done. Anyway, so qualifications really mean absolutely nothing. And the other thing is that a lot of the people that are in office, because they don't want you, are generally a little off balance. Okay, they suffer from psychopathy. They're psychopaths. They're narcissists. And this pandemic has really been able to slow them down because they're in somewhere in hiding, trying to make sure that nobody blows on them or cough on them or anything, because they really want to be able to get out and rule the world, so they think. Now, people are not going to get any better. Unfortunately, when you go outside, even to go to the grocery store, people are just as, what do you call it, aggressive as they were before. So if you were already mean and aggressive, you're going to be even worse when this is over. I pray not, but many people will be. If you were slick and money hungry and power hungry and, needing, money and power, if that's your whole goal in life, you're going to be just as bad. People will do anything in the world, okay? Anything in the world to make sure that they get what they want. And I'm going to tell you something else, and I'm going to come back in 2 minutes. Just let me just take a quick break. I got to put on some food. Hold on 1 second, please. Okay, so with the magic of the internet, I went and put myself some lunch on, and I snuck a peek at Monk. Thursdays, Adrian Monk. I love it. It goes on and on. I spend my entire day barely getting anything done because I love Monk so much. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So now with this political stuff here, this guy here, James Davis, is a good friend of mine, as you can see. This is up in Caucus in Albany. And I met him in 2003, February to be exact. I think it was 2003. Yeah, I think it was 2004, actually. But anyway, he was shot and killed by an opponent who was running against him and was a little jealous of him. He and I had so much in common. He was city council in Brooklyn. And we had so much in common. It was wonderful. And I just can't believe that he's gone. But because he wanted to serve anyway, the reason why I run is because of my background as a child growing up in Birmingham and what we had to go through there, which was horrible, and just surviving it was amazing, between the dogs and the white tank and Eugene Bull Connor, and I was a little girl in the church being bombed and my sister's friend being killed, Carol. It's overwhelming, and you're suffering constantly from traumatic stress. And so you want to do something to make the world a better place, to make people understand that although we may look different, our goals in lives, just in our lives, it's the same thing. We want to have a decent place to live. We want to have food on the table, clothes on our backs. We want to have some money in the bank, or have money, period, just so we can go. And it just seems to me that people, and I will be doing another article on money versus morals. And again, I had told you guys that I wrote articles. One was courageous versus crazy. When women run for office, it's like, they think that you're crazy. When we stand up for ourselves, we got to be crazy. Except for now, they got the Me Too movement. And that's a lot of Caucasian women, which is wonderful. Um, and then we have, I wrote an article called When I Ran for City Council President, Excuse Me, but what just happened? You know. So I wrote that article. And I also wrote another article, 2014, for the um, 50th anniversary of the signing of the Civil Rights Bill. And that one was Civil Rights Not So Fast. Okay. I also used to write for the Poughkeepsie Journal. I've done a couple of articles with them. They also asked me in 2004 to write something for my opinion of Brown versus the Board of Education, and I did. And so that was put in the Poughkeepsie Journal, and I've written other articles for the Poughkeepsie Journal as well. So my whole reason for saying all of that and all this stuff in back of me and all these things here that haven't even been put up yet is to say that I do have some kind of sense and qualification when it comes to dealing with people. My jobs have always been where I've been able to manage groups of people, to bring people together, all the volunteer work that I've done in different communities to bring people together, to raise awareness, um, to try and change the hearts of people, because you can't change people's minds. You got to change their heart. Once you change a person's heart, then you change their behavior. And once you change their behavior, then you see a whole bunch of other lovely things happening in our world and in our community. And I'm just one person, but I just want to say that my family, again, this is my cousin whom I love, Sergeant Major. In the service, he served. And the reason why he lived in Germany for a huge part of his life is because of what was going on in Birmingham. So at 17, he and a friend was beaten because they were in the wrong neighborhood. They were driving. It's crazy. But the truth is that we have experienced so much. Now, when I ran for city council president, my people came back and they told me that there were people in the community who were saying, I just can't see a black woman being, president of our city council. And then when I ran for mayor last year, I was told by a person that I really adored that, Yonkers isn't ready for a black, female president. I mean, mayor. But we would be willing to take a Hispanic. So when I ran, they got this other woman, Karen Beltran, to run against me because they couldn't afford to have a black American woman running against a white Italian male, okay, for the third term, okay. So they set you up. They think you don't know what's going on. Um, they think that we just don't know, and a lot of us do know, but there's so many they get to put into certain positions. But oh, we have our token over here. Yeah, but they're watered down, milk toast. You know, weak as I don't know what. They're not going to speak up. They might have a seat at the table, but they might as well be invisible because they're not going to open their mouths and they're not going to fight for anything. Like I said, Andrea Stewart Cousins, as much as people just adore her and her scarves and all that kind of stuff, when 4 black women were running for office, she did not support one, not even an encouraging word. I would, if I had been in her place, as a senior person in a political, as a black woman, I would have said to these black women, I am so proud of you all for running for office. It is not easy, and it's not easy in this city, but I commend you for it. Although I may not be able to support any of you, from the bottom of my heart, if there's anything that I can do, if you need to talk, uh, you know, if you just need a place to go, my door is open, and I would love, because we were all running for different things, so we didn't even really barely overlapped in many of the districts. We had one running for two running for county legislator, and two running for city council. So it was just very sad. And what they do is they do um, what the white elites at the city do. What they try to do along with the crazy black people that are in office is they do something called buck breaking, and I might have mentioned this on another show. Buck breaking is when you're on a plantation and you have a black slave male who stands up and to the white master. They try to buck break him, so they take him out in front of everybody, and they beat him and they sodomize him, rape him, and everything right in front of all the other black people who are on the plantation, to say, let this be your lesson, because we're going to rape you, we're going to sodomize you, and we're going to beat you in front of everybody else. So it scares everybody, you know. They also do something else. There was something else that was called when they do, because there's so many things that they have done to us in the past. Yeah, that's what it's called. A modern day lynching. They literally lynch you in front of everybody, and they make everybody else scared. And then the people don't want to deal with you. Oh, don't come near her. It's almost like the Scarlet Letter. They do everything in their power. But let me tell you something. My God is awesome. And it don't matter what they thought they were gonna do. The Chris Johnsons, the Simmer Brandons, the Andrea Stewart Cousins, the mayor, and all these other people, who was had more excuses than Carter had liver pills to tell people not to give me a job, to blacklist me, which, by the way, is illegal also. I'll be trying to get those transcripts. It's horrible. And this is what they try to do. They take your livelihood away, because they, unlike how they treat you, want their pension. They want more money going into their Social Security. They have fired so many people. Like, okay, there's this one guy who's the deputy commissioner of the DPW. It's not that I don't like these people, but when you look at the fact that when he gave his son a $40,000 contract and he just got 30 days suspension, that couldn't have been you if you were black. This one girl, black, who used to work for Human Resources, somehow was able to take a $75 membership to a health club, gave it back. They fired her anyway. She had a couple of children that she needed to take care of. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They don't care about us. And so that's why I don't understand, why is it that all of these people in Yonkers continue to do the things that they do. And I'm saying across the board, whether you're black, green, blue, or white, we are supposed to, hold on a second, let me get this thing here that's supposed to mean something. So the things that mean nothing to the people in politics is this, the Constitution. Now, it says we the people. It says we the people, even though there's some other tar or something over it. Might as well be tarred and feathered. This Constitution means nothing to most politicians. They're not trying to follow it here. They couldn't care less. Also, this book here means absolutely nothing. Whether it's that book or whether it's this book here. I studied religion not because of anything. I was thinking about becoming a minister. But the Bible means nothing. The Constitution means nothing. Here means absolutely nothing. The work that you do in your community, this is just a bunch of stuff that I've done through the years, articles. This is the first one that I wrote for the Poughkeepsie Journal here. And you can see community turned. I'm trying to work to turn hate away, getting people to understand the importance of loving just other human beings. And it seems to me like the only thing that really matters to most politicians, and they'll, like I said, they will kill, like what they did to my friend. They will kill to get into that, and to get this right here. This is what they're interested in, power. This book is very interesting book. But that's all that they really care about. Nothing else really matters to them. They want what they want when they want it because they know that when they get it, they're not going to pay any attention to what you wanted or what they promised you. It's just not going to happen. That's just all there is to it. They make promises that they'll never be able to keep, and they're not even going to work towards it. Most of them, I would think, are, even though they won't admit it, they're racist. Okay, they don't like black people. Half of them, go ahead, ask them how many black friends they had during the course of their lifetime. They either worked with them or they went to school with them. Other than that, they had nothing to do with most black people. Um, so they don't even understand. You know, they want to be judges. They want to be this, that, and the other, and they want to be in charge of you, but they couldn't care less about you. It's all about lining their own pockets. Let's just be real about it. It's all about what they want and what they want for their family. But I'm so glad that God has the last say in everything. I'm very happy that my God has sat everyone down and decided, peace be still. The only thing that's going to work here is a miracle. I don't know. And that's something that we need. And someone said something today. We need a miracle of God to change and soften the hearts. And that's all we need. And right now, instead of people getting better, some of them are actually getting worse. They're more miserable, more irritated. People who living with partners that they never liked from the beginning. Oh, well, they thought they liked, but maybe they liked them for some other reason and now finding out what they're really about. And it's just very sad. But like I said, we need God to come in and soften our hearts. We need God to make sure that whenever this world of ours, his new world, not new world order, that people change, for better and not for worse. But I have a feeling the devil is still busy because I'll tell you something. If the people in political positions really were public servants, they would go by the book and they would go by the Constitution. And they don't go by either. They do their own thing, bringing in their own friends and their own family because nepotism and cronyism is, what it is. Whether you're competent, whether you're, and nobody should ever say that somebody black ain't competent. I mean, yeah, we have our issues because we don't get the same opportunities. But I'll tell you something, even with all this, they would rather take, when I ran for city council president, a racist tow truck owner. And they even had the woman that was in the office calling and telling people to not vote for me during the convention. It's just me and him. You got a racist old tow truck driver who can barely put two sentences together. And then you have me, black, educated, experienced, seen a lot of things in my life and connected. And those crazy black people went against me. And I lost by 30 something votes because they didn't even support me. So they talk about loyalty now. I don't owe anybody anything. And the thing is that when you're living someplace where people are so hungry and so thirsty for power and money, you have to be always prepared. Always prepared. And I'm not going to say how you need to be prepared, but I know you better be prepared because they're really something else. They're either worshiping the devil or they're the devil themselves. I don't know what kind of spirit is in them, but they're not nice people. And they do everything they can to try to stop a good person. And the old saying, the only thing an evil man wants is for a good man to keep quiet. That's exactly what goes on here. But don't you worry about it because, guys, Jesus will take care of everything. I'm telling you that right now. It's all going to be all right. We could use a little love and happiness right about now. Anyway, it's my time. I've been on for a very long time. I'm going to finish telling you guys my story, going a little bit more into detail about, what happened to me and my lawsuit with the city of Yonkers. The only thing, and it's funny because we have these, excuse me a second, Al. We have these people who report, and some of them are a little on the cuckoo for Cocoa Puff side. One of them is pretty good, but we got some that are just like, it's like, in sign, you want to say, why? Why are you even, Why are you even doing this? And this is the best that we have. And people talk about competency, really. And people are reading these things about people. I never hardly read anything that anyone wrote about me because I know who I am and I know whose I am. My God loves me. And that's all that really matters to me, as long as He loves me. And He's been taking good care of me, even with the firing, even with them, not, giving me and serving me, and not serving me, but giving me what I deserved as far as being equal and fair and just. You don't get any justice. You're just not going to. But it's okay. We kept on going for 3.5 years. And yeah, the city owes me, but I know I won't get it because they're too racist to give it. They just can't. It's not in their soul. It's not in their spirit, because the people who are running the place are just purity. And a lot of times people don't know what a racist is. But when you think that your skin color and your privilege and the fact that you, especially the men, um, you should see that city council. I'm so glad that they can't even come and wear the little suit and ties and and sashay around each other like they're like the cream of the la creme. Okay, and the reason why they don't want people like me who speak their mind involved in anything with politics is because they're afraid of where they're going to go. Yes, they had to do a third term because where else would all these incompetent people go? They need to make sure they get their pensions and their social security because they're not competent. I mean, they have people around them who might be able to help, but we don't even know where half these people come from. Okay? Anyway, not that any of that matters because they get what they get because of who they know. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and let's just hope that nothing else happens where, maybe they can live to get it. Let's hope they don't do like the Kennedys and leave a legacy of nothing but death behind them when they go. They get paid and the rest of the family dies off, because when you're dead, you don't know what's going to happen to the rest of your generation. So I would suggest doing the right thing, but then that's just coming from me, okay? That's just coming from me, and who am I? I'm no one, but I know that I'm loved by my God, and He don't make any mistakes. I'm not perfect, but only Jesus was perfect, so you can't expect anything more out of me. I give you my all. I give you my best. I try to make people understand that love is truly the answer, and we need to be fair, okay? It shouldn't be Dominicans against blacks because Dominicans are black. We just speak a different language. I mean, all this divisiveness and this separativeness and everybody wants the same thing. When you love people, you don't treat them like that. When you're a God-fearing person, you don't just take power, because God is really the only one who has the real power. Okay? Just remember that. Jesus is love. And if you're not showing that, I don't know where you are. And if you have nothing else, you can always call on God. You can always call on Jesus. He's there. He's mine forever. That's how I've been able to live, even when you tried to destroy me, when you tried to lynch me and, buck break me. I'll be back. I promise you that. Take care now.